And now is when you announce a new company policy to take a week off to watch Netflix.
Welcome to 33 Tangents, a roundtable discussion covering a wide variety of topics from digital analytics to working remotely to current happenings in business and technology. Your hosts, Jason Thompson, John Moran, Jen Coons, and myself, Jim Driscoll, all live in different areas of the world but work together in the same company. Our regular day-to-day conversations often go off in various directions, and the goal of this podcast is to share our ideas and find new ways to engage with others.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't realize
Cool.
you put the coffee maker in your office.
yeah,
Because
just
you,
because it
you
looks cool in the background.
my guess was that you ran out of room in the kitchen because you keep buying
And
things.
also that I'm trying to keep it balanced. If I had all my coffee gear on the countertops, it would take up all the countertops.
Instead of like a garage space, you should have like an extra kitchen space, like a kitchen workshop.
So I've got off of my kitchen, I've got this dining room that no one ever uses. It's like a formal dining room. I guess they're out of vogue. Like we just eat in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And I'm like, man, how cool would it be to wall this off and make this into like a professional kitchen, full on like upgrade it to like professional gear, have a walk-in like freezer. Oh, this would be amazing.
That'd be cool. You should have it like as a project, like
I'm
a
sure
side
I'm
project.
sure it'd kill any resale value of the house, but I think it would be amazing.
And then you'd wonder why that wasn't your regular kitchen.
I know, I know. Cause I'm honestly a bit weird like that. Cause everyone looks at the utility items in the kitchen and they're like, okay, what are the right colors? What's the scheme that matches together? I'm like, I want a big old industrial Hobart dishwasher that just is like, metal and you throw it on. Have you guys ever worked in a kitchen? I mean, that's what I want. And it's like, okay, that doesn't really fit the style of the house or the color scheme. I'm like, I don't care. It's about utility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the kind of dishwasher where you don't have to like wipe anything off. You just put the dishes in and they
Yeah,
come out sparkling.
yeah. In like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like 800
So
degrees.
anyway, but yeah, that's why I was late. My microphone didn't work, but I was rushed because I was trying to make a drink before we
Nice.
started.
Jason and I yesterday got into the intricacies of coffee, and even started just talking about like the how a coffee. I never realized this. How you grind the coffee will affect the taste of it. So I'm like, because I get the whole bean and then grind it. So I'm like, I'm going to play around with my grinder settings and see if like if it changes anything.
Yeah, and the more manual you go, like there's so many variables. And I'm on day 5 of the new machine, and there's so much to learn. And one of the things that I'm learning is temperature, and so that was one of the reasons I was late to the recording is I didn't get up in time to turn it on. Technically, it heats up in 2 minutes. The water's hot within the
Mm-hmm.
temperature range within 2 minutes, but it doesn't make a very good espresso in 2 minutes. It just is really sour. And so what I've learned is the machine really wants to heat up for about 40-45 minutes so that every component in there is hot. And then when you brew a shot of espresso, it's much better. So I was a little compressed on my time.
It's not the most energy efficient way to
No,
make an espresso.
it's not the most efficient way to do anything. Like, you know, I can make a decent cup in my Nespresso machine in like 90 seconds. But,
Yeah.
sometimes slower is okay. So, anyway, are we ready to chat? What are we chatting
Yeah,
about?
I was actually
Movies?
thinking that slower is better might actually be a decent segue into one of the items I have on my list for this week. Um, so last week we talked about what's on our reading list, whether it's books we have we're planning to read in the near future, stuff that we've read that we recommend to people, And we wrapped up with John saying we should do like our movie recommendations. So like this is a broad, set of recommendations, whether it's specifically documentaries, movies, or just like what's in your Netflix queue. What are recommendations we can give to people to go check out. And so what I was saying was, when you were talking about slower is better, where I'm thinking we could segue is like that's actually one of the items I have on my list today. And like this is something, Jason, I keep in my Netflix queue regularly because it's something really really cool. I have this under like the interesting category, and it's something you recommended to me years ago, and it's called Slow TV. It's the train ride from Bergen to Oslo. And I
So
mean,
awesome.
it's like 8 hours long.
It's a real time train ride.
Yeah, they basically mounted a camera to the front of the train, and then also have a microphone on the inside of the train, so you hear the commotion. And yeah, it's a real time train ride. So of course the camera goes black when you go through tunnels from Bergen to Oslo, Norway. And it's just really really cool. You can sit there and just watch the countryside go by. So sometimes when I just need like a little bit of white noise or something like that in the background, I put that on because like you hear the station calls, like the approaching station. You see the countryside going by, and then you just hear commotion of people talking in the background, and it's a really interesting experience.
Yeah, that is a fun one. And I do the same whenever I just want to like zone out. I don't know what it is about it, but it is so like chill. Just sitting there watching that.
It is.
Where do you see this? Is it on the YouTube?
This is on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
Oh, Netflix.
Yeah.
Interesting. And what was it called again? Slow TV, you said?
Yes, Slow TV, train ride from Bergen to Oslo.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No, it really, really is, and it's a different perspective on things, especially like. And now I'm gonna get all philosophical and whatnot. People rushing to get stuff done, and again, talking about taking time to make a good cup of coffee. Like this is fun just to sit back and watch a train ride, and you just see things go by. Because if you think about it today, and again, I don't want to get too philosophical and too ranty and way too off, on too much of a side tangent. But like, if you think about it, you see everybody with their face down in a phone. This is fun. You're kind of just sitting there taking in, just a slow little train ride.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
And the reason I really like it, and this is going to tie back to our conversation last week about summer reading, is I mentioned one of my all-time favorite books is Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And in the beginning, he's talking about his belief that the interstate system and cars kind of ruined the travel experience. He's like, I drive past these cars of people that are on the interstate and they're trying to get from A to B and they're angry and they're in a rush and the kids are in the back seat and their heads are buried in something. And he's like, that's why I love the motorcycle, is it's so freeing. I'm just in this current moment and enjoying everything that's around me. And that's kind of what the whole thought behind that film is. It's like, it's not a rush to get there. It's enjoy the traveling. So I really like that aspect of it. I had a hard time prepping for this episode. There are so many good films. So I don't know if you guys put a lot of thought into what you wanted to talk about, but I forced myself to just documentary film because that's what I watch the most. And I had a list of like 500 documentaries long that are all amazing and that I want everyone to watch. But I limited it to like things that are currently available on either Netflix or Amazon, so that if people are listening, they can go out and watch. So that's kind of my short list, and there's some really good ones in there. But I'd love to hear kind of what you guys are thinking, currently watching.
Yeah, like so I went back into my Netflix queue to get like the specific titles, and unfortunately a couple of them like I could talk to, but I couldn't find the actual title. I guess it's no longer on Netflix. But yeah, I kind of limited my stuff to mostly like some form of documentary, and really was looking through Netflix. And then I started categorizing them. Like I have a couple here that are like for fun, or like I said, interesting, and then just other things, for like, to learn something new. I have like one under like I just gave it a category of business. So that's the way I did it. I picked out a few specific ones. I don't have an exhaustive list, but I figure at least bring a few to the table for us to chat about.
Let's do it.
Cool. So where do you want to
Hopefully,
start?
hopefully
Who
John
wants to-
didn't. Hopefully, John didn't just focus on documentary as well, or were we supposed to focus on documentary?
Well, the conversation was around it started off with documentaries. So, but I mean, we can make it a bit broader if we've got some other suggestions.
Fair enough. Go ahead.
I was going to say I did not think about documentaries mainly because I'm looking for documentaries to watch. So I
Well,
will
I
take your
have a list.
recommendations.
I have a list for you, John.
Perfect.
Yeah. All
And
right.
I also have a challenge, and maybe I'll leave that to the end.
Yeah, definitely leave that to the end.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So who wants to kick it off?
I'll kick it off. I guess it was my topic, but full disclaimer is I actually don't watch all that much Netflix recently, but I'd like to more. So I'm looking for suggestions for this. But that said, I have seen a few things recently that I found very interesting. One of the series on Netflix that I've been addicted to, and again, I haven't watched every episode yet. I kind of space it out. Is called Black Mirror. Do you guys know this show? Um, it's basically, I think it's 4 seasons now. The fifth season's coming out soon. Every episode is very the story is in isolation from each other. They're almost like little like short films, with the common theme of them taking place usually in the near future. And basically, the idea is that it extrapolates some trend of new technology and weaves into all the potentially unintended consequences of that new technology hitting us. Like some notable episodes as teasers that I recall. The first one I watched, it was basically about um, in the near future where you're able to get like an implant in you behind your ear that allows you to record everything that you've ever seen with your eyes, basically, and be able to play back memories. Which on the surface sounds like a good thing for some kind of superhuman power like that. But then the episode goes into some examples, and I mean, it's done in a dramatic way. It's not a documentary. It's done in a dramatic way to kind of show where things can go awfully wrong.
It
Assuming this
reminds
technology exists.
me of a modern day Twilight Zone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, someone actually mentioned that to me recently too, and I somehow did not make that comparison initially, but it totally is like a modern revamp of the Twilight Zone, which I love as well.
I grew up watching that. I grew up watching Twilight Zone. The black and white, back when it was like black and white series, and
Oh yeah, me too.
and it probably warped my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
But when I first started watching, I'm like, this feels like a modern day Twilight Zone, and it's freaking me the hell out.
Yeah, no, it's really good, and I feel like it actually. I don't want to exaggerate too much, but I mean I do feel like it somehow helps a little bit with sometimes work related, or people that probably listen to our podcast, just because we're always thinking about new technologies and
Yeah,
whether it be privacy or whatnot, and this is just another way to kind of expand your thinking into um, seeing how things could go very
for
awry.
sure. Yeah, for sure. Do you have a favorite episode?
Um, I actually really like that one that I mentioned with the memory implant.
Yeah, the
Um,
gaming company.
Yeah, yep. And then there was
Yep.
another one I recently watched. I remember the title of the episode because it's a very jarring title, but it's called "Hang the DJ," and basically it's about
That's my
this
favorite episode.
futuristic. Oh, you've seen that as well? Yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah,
about like
it's
this
my favorite
futuristic,
one.
yeah, dating app of sorts.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and there's always some twist at the end. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very very entertaining.
But speaking of analytics, that was kind of the whole idea behind it, right? Is this dating app like could predict everything, like, and it would
Yeah,
predict your perfect match and how long you were gonna be with the current person you're with, and it was, yeah,
totally.
extremely crazy. Anyway, yeah, that was a good one.
So that was one. Another one I recently watched, which I think is actually an awesome movie, but is under the radar, especially on the American side, I feel like. I don't even know if it's promoted in Netflix in the US, but this movie called The Wandering Earth. I don't know if you've
Mm,
seen that promoted.
no.
It's a Chinese movie, actually. It was totally produced in China, but it's unlike it's very like it's a high budget science fiction film, and worldwide it actually grossed I think as much or more than Avatar did. Like it was a huge movie worldwide, but it never came to the West basically. But it's on
Hmm.
Netflix now, available to watch.
What's it called?
Um, the Wandering Earth, and it's a very
Okay,
like
it's good enough.
extreme. I mean, it has like a very extreme plot, basically, where the idea it takes place on Earth in the future, where the sun basically implodes, and the only hope for survival is basically moving the entire Earth to another solar system. But it's actually, I mean, it's very high budget.
Understood.
Yeah, but it's
Understood.
interesting. It actually was a lot more. I was a lot more into it than they anticipated. At first I heard about it because of the fact that it was such a big movie worldwide, and I was like, why did I never hear about this movie? So I started watching it, and I really got into it. But it just kind of blew my mind. Um, it sounds bad, but just I mean, honestly, I mean, it's, or I guess I'm trying to say like, it's awesome how Netflix promotes movies internationally nowadays,
Mm, yeah.
and movies that you would not normally be able to watch otherwise.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think I have one. I don't know if it was made internationally or not. There's one about some murders in Iceland. It's called Out of Thin Air.
I think I've seen that.
I think it's a British film, but
Hmm.
it's about these six kids that were convicted of this really bizarre murder in Iceland, and they're kind of re-examining the evidence 40 years later.
Uh-huh.
Um, it's really really interesting. I had that
Oh, cool.
on my list of recommendations. So yeah, Out of Thin Air.
I did want to mention one more, not to be amiss without putting some food related show in there. I've been really watching, and there's a lot of them now. I mean, I've always been a fan of Chef's Table and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
But I don't know if you saw the new one Netflix has called Street Food.
I have it in my queue, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, so I've been into this one. Basically, every episode focuses on a different city, and it focuses basically about the street food culture in that city, and drills down usually into two or three specific food hawkers, food vendors, and kind of
Mm.
goes into their story as well. But there's a lot of food porn kind of scenes in there as well. And the first episode's in Bangkok, so
Very
that always
cool.
intrigues me. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch that one. I'm watching a series right now called The Wild Chef.
I haven't seen that one.
It's about this French Canadian chef and his sous chef, and they just travel all around Canada to just crazy locations and just cook out in the
Hmm.
wild. And
Oh wow.
they take this kind of beaten down stove and they strap it in the back of their pickup truck and they just drive and they just go to like destinations like on the seashore in the middle of the woods, and they'll just cook something. And he really loves foie gras, so he throws it in almost everything, but he uses really kind of interesting ingredients and comes up with just really interesting. Anyway, it's very entertaining.
That's
um,
awesome.
so yeah, that's a good one on the food, and I think there's only a couple seasons of it, unfortunately, because I'm like, man, I wish there was a ton of these. But yeah, The Wild Chef, I'm really enjoying that one.
Okay, I'll add that to my list.
Yes. So I have a couple. Um, on extreme ends of the spectrum. I have a ton, man. I'm looking at my list. I'm like, there's so many good ones. Um,
How long is this list that you're looking at right now?
the
That
one
you
I'm
created?
looking at right now is about 35 movies, so
All right.
I'm definitely not going to get through them all. But
Next
I
five
have,
podcast will be Jason's list.
but I have two on the extreme ends. So on the extreme end of, and so many people around this area have watched this. So if you're from the Intermountain West, you've probably already seen this in its old news, but you guys may have never even heard of it. And it's called Abducted in Plain Sight. Okay. So the reason why it's popular here is because it happens in Idaho. It happens in a Mormon community, and it is just bizarre as all can be. And I guarantee you, within the first 5 minutes of you watching this, you're gonna stop and say, "What the hell is going on here?" It is so bizarre. It's without giving away the plot of it. It's basically a neighbor. An adult neighbor male kidnapping a young female girl who lives next door right under the parents' nose. Like it wasn't a violent grab and run off. It was a right under their nose. He abducted this girl and brainwashed her, and it is bizarre as bizarre can be. And I guarantee, like every 5 minutes you're just gonna stop and be like, how is this even possible? It is crazy. So that one, if you just want to watch something completely bizarre and be like, what the hell is happening here? That one is the one. On the far opposite side, if you just want to feel good, funny, laugh, the Parking Lot movie is amazing. It's about like these overeducated master's degree students, artists that are law attendants in a parking lot. And they're crass and they're rude and they hate drivers with fancy cars, and it is just hilarious. I want to say it's in New Jersey, somewhere in the East Coast. I want to say New Jersey or something. And
New Jersey would be apropos.
yeah, it's just absolutely just complete 90 minutes of pure entertainment and laugh.
I'd never heard of it, so I'm definitely
I think
definitely
it's on. I think that one's available on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to go back and watch it. I think it's made in 2009 or 2010. I probably saw it like 6 or 7 years ago. I definitely need to go back and watch it.
Yeah.
And
funny
one
enough,
oh, go ahead.
no, I was going to say we're driving home from the shore last night. We're like, with like the TV season wrapping up. We're like, oh, we need to find some series to watch, over the summer. So a couple of these are from I've written down. So this is perfect. We were just talking last night about this.
And if you want a full list of things, I'll give you a full list. One in the middle that's just a feel good, like beautiful documentary. And John, I think you recommended this to me. Skyladder?
No, wasn't me.
No?
Nope, not me. Cannot take credit.
I
But now I'm
swear you
curious what it is.
recommended it to me.
Skyladder.
Skyladder.
You
It
need a
is-
column in your list for who recommended it.
I know. But I swear
Oh wait,
this
maybe I
was-
did do it actually.
You did. I swear you recommended it. It's the guy. It's the guy that
yeah.
does art with fireworks.
Yeah,
Right?
and I did recommend this.
Okay,
Or I
nice.
know I saw it.
No,
yeah,
you recommended it to me.
I did not remember the name at all. But okay, yes,
It was really
that was a
good.
one.
And
Yeah.
visually really stunning.
Yeah, no, that was an amazing film. I'm remembering it now.
Okay. You need to write down a list of who you recommended films to.
It's true. It's true. I was so adamant that I didn't do it, but I probably did.
Yeah, that's a good one. So I can keep going. So you guys got to jump in because I
Yeah.
have a.
Well, it's
huge-
funny. I've got a similar list. Like I've got like the serious ones and then the fun ones. So like on the serious side, like one of the things here is it's called The Smartest Guys in the Room. It's about the whole Enron scandal. So one of the things I think Enron happened right around the same time as 9/11. So Enron really kind of came crashing down October 2001. So even though it happened afterward, it was still being overshadowed by the events of 9/11. So I don't think people really were able to fully take in how bad Enron was. So this really dissects what they did, how long they were doing it, as far as cooking the books. Because everyone talks about, oh, they cook the books. Well, how exactly did they do that? That they fooled the majority of the employees, if not all employees. They fooled investors. They fooled the SEC. Everybody. So it's like if you want to see about how good they were about cooking the books, the smartest guys in the room is something to watch.
Definitely check that one out.
Yeah, but something on the more lighter side of things. This is a series on Netflix, and I recommend this for anybody who grew up in the 70s or 80s. It's called The Toys That Made Us. So
Nostalgia,
all the
huh?
Exactly, but it goes through like how did the toys get to where they were, especially it's like all the toys that live on in lore. For anybody who grew up in the 70s or 80s, Legos, Transformers, Barbie, all of those toys, and part of it is they show the business side of it, like how did they make those toys popular in the U.S. because like Transformers, for example, were an import from Japan. But again, yeah, it's just the fun of it. Like, how did they come up with that, and how did they market it? And again, those who grew up in the '80s, like Saturday morning cartoons were nothing but 30-minute commercials.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Oh,
I definitely recommend The Toys That Made Us.
That's gonna make me, yeah. I didn't have a ton, but I was into Transformers.
I was too. I was into that. Like,
I was
that
like very
my toy
protective
growing up.
of my Optimus Prime.
Oh yeah.
So
that was a Christmas gift one year for me. Optimus.
yeah, I
Prime.
think it was for
And,
me as well. I was so excited about that.
Oh, same here. So that brought back some memories watching that. They have it's like I want to say it's like 8 1-hour episodes, 8 or 10 1-hour episodes. GI Joe is another one, and they talk about with GI Joe. It was basically like you had Barbie out for girls, and it's like, how do we make a doll for boys to market to boys? We use the same materials, the same everything for boys. So okay, well we're not going to call it a doll. We're going to call it an action figure. We're going to change it in just these ways that we then market it to boys. So that was an interesting episode.
Very interesting. And just as a side tangent, so we can go off on a little tangent here, people may be listening and be like, what the hell is this have to do with digital analytics or what you guys talk about? But I was thinking as we were talking through this, it is this episode encapsulates the way that we work, Like we're okay to be human and have likes and not only that, talk about it with the people that we work with, not only internally but with our clients. And I was on a call yesterday with Bryant, who works at 33.6. He's just getting into building a saltwater reef tank in his house, and he was talking with one of our clients about the process of building they had like a 10-15 minute conversation about it. Anyway, I think it's like cool that we don't have to have this mask where we're like, nope, all we do is talk about work all the, we're human. So I think this is such a cool episode of like, this is just reality. This is how we operate,
And and to that point too, like I think and another dimension of that too is when people think of documentaries, they think of stuff that's boring and dry. And I think a lot of the stuff that we've talked about is things that we could take away. If we focus specifically on work, we could take away, and it's still something interesting.
Yeah.
If we talk about like the toy market, how do they market that stuff to kids, and how do they say, okay, we've got one product here that is specifically for say girls. How do we market it to boys and whatnot?
For sure.
And then just some of the other the things we've talked about. Yeah, it's fun to just talk about like, yeah, I'm into this thing and sharing it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Before I forget, John, I want you to add to your list God Knows Where I Am, if I haven't recommended that one before.
Okay.
It is a beautiful film, but absolutely heartbreaking and tragic. So don't watch it when you're in like a melancholy down mood, because it will just suck you down. But it is absolutely gut-wrenching and fascinating. It's about this lady, I believe in New Hampshire. She was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. She was, I think, committed by her sister to a state mental hospital, and then had been discharged, and everyone lost track of her. And somehow she ends up in a home in New Hampshire, and not an abandoned house. It was like maybe a summer house or something, because this is in coming into winter time, and I think it is a summer house where it's someone's home. It's fully stocked, but no one's there, because it's winter and they've maybe gone to another city, and she ends up living in this house and getting apples and stuff from the yard. For 4 or 5 months until she finally dies in the house, I think of starvation. But she keeps a daily journal, which when they found her, they discovered the journal, and they used the journal to then piece together the film and her actions over these 4 months in this home. Absolutely just amazing, beautiful movie.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll look at that as well.
Yeah. On the lighter side, to balance that out, I would also recommend Raiders. It is. Have you seen it, Jim?
You recommended it to me. I sat down and watched it. That one was good.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes.
It's so good. It's a shot for so first of all, it starts with a group of kids. I mean, we're talking under 12, I think, most of them, that set out to make a shot-by-shot remake of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh yeah,
And
I've heard of this.
and they shoot every scene except the scene with the Nazi in the plane that cuts his head off, when the propeller flies into him, right? That was like the only scene they hadn't made. So they're getting together, I want to say, what, 30 or 40 years later. After,
yeah, like they're now like in their 40s. They're married. They have their own kids.
and they're going to make the final shot to piece into their movie of this shot by shot remake. It is awesome. It is really good. I'm glad you watched it, Jim.
Yeah, no, that one was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
That looks cool.
Yeah.
I'm just watching the little trailer of it.
Yeah.
Oh, another one I have been watching. I forgot. It's kind of a documentary, or not. It's like a docu-series, I guess, on Formula One, race car drivers. I think it's just called Formula One. Drive to Survive, I want to say. Yeah, Drive to Survive. I always liked watching Formula One, but even if you're not into it, it's very well produced, and I think anyone will you'll come to appreciate how much goes into those races behind the scenes. I think it's just how it's crazy. I mean, there's a lot of sub stories in there too, where there's like a David versus Goliath kind of thing, where it's like a small team trying to compete against one of the big money teams, and just everything that's behind that. But yeah, if you're a fan of racing, that's definitely a good one.
I'm not so much, but I really enjoyed Senna. Did you watch that one?
I did, yeah.
I mean, and
It was a while ago.
That one is so good, and that one's about a Formula One racer, Brazilian, I think, race champion, and he died in his early 30s, and I think in an on track accident. But that one was really good, and I have seen that other series pop up, and I haven't got to it, but yeah, it's fascinating.
There's so much to watch.
I know. But that's one of those ones where it's not something that I watch Formula One racing on TV, but the documentaries are fascinating.
Yeah, I mean that's probably partly why documentaries are so great too. It brings you into a world that you wouldn't normally be.
Yeah, for sure.
Normally know. What if we switch it up? How about are there any guilty pleasure types of shows that you watch that you wish were not on your history? No, just kidding.
No, I've got like a category.
I'm gonna have to go
I'm a
pull up my
sucker
history
for.
now.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for it, but I wouldn't necessarily say I wouldn't call it a full guilty pleasure where I'm ashamed to have another. I'm a sucker for like health and nutrition documentaries. Just because like I'm constantly looking for new ways to eat better, be more fit and whatnot. My problem though with a lot of those is that they come in with a bias. Now, granted, everybody has a bias. I'm not going to fool myself and think people don't have a bias. But what I found with a lot of them is they come in with the conclusion already made and then tell the story around to get that conclusion instead of me in like the perfect world. I believe like a documentary is I've got this hypothesis and the documentary is the process of proving or disproving that hypothesis. But the problem is like this one I couldn't find it on Netflix anymore. It used to be on there. I think it's the best one yet, where he followed that I have this hypothesis about the state that we as Americans are in as being overweight, unfit, and whatnot. And he's not there to try to sell you any particular eating regimen, whether it's juicing or veganism or paleo diet. He's not selling you that, but he breaks down each category, and it was great because he broke down like, okay, what's in our food today versus say 50 years ago, and is that a problem? And then he's like, let's talk about portion sizes, and then let's talk about how other countries view say meals versus how we do. And again, it's killing me that I was spent like a half an hour yesterday trying to find the name of this documentary, because like again, I look at like other ones like Forks Over Knives. Like that's one my brother-in-law's recommended me watch a couple times, but I started it and within 5 minutes turned off because I'm like, this is a vegan infomercial. Not gonna lie, that's exactly what it is.
Is that like the whole kind of series? What was the one that kind of kickstarted that whole thing with the Super Size Me? Is it kind of in that
Super
vein?
Size Me? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched Super Size Me, but this one again, I'm still looking for it, and if I can find the title, I'll put it in the show notes so I can give the guy the proper credit. He did what I feel a health and nutrition documentary should do. You pose a hypothesis, and then you come at it from every angle. He looked at all the various ways people eat, like whether it's plant-based, meat-based, fat-based, carbohydrate-based, all that, but then also looked at other habits. Like there's this one segment where he did portion sizes. And he said the part of the problem where we're at now is portion sizes. And like he did this experiment with 2 different size plates. And he says like the bigger the plate, we just pile on more food. We instinctively just fill the size of the plate, so if you're trying to get things under control, force yourself to have a smaller plate, you'll eat less. So I digress at the moment, but I'm a sucker for those kind of ones. But yeah, like the problem is there's a lot of crap ones out there that I've started watching and just have turned off.
It looks like I have 2 things that I watch over and over and over again. I'm looking through my history. So apparently I watch a lot of the Carbonaro Effect.
Oh, I love that show.
And then I also apparently watch a lot of Chill with Bob Ross. I'm watching.
That's awesome.
There's a ton of like full seasons of Bob Ross on Netflix. And when I just need to relax, speaking of the slow train ride, the Bob Ross series, especially the Chill with Bob Ross, which is all his winter scenes, is such a like zen meditation.
Wow.
Oh, but
I didn't realize that
speaking
was
of
on
the
Netflix.
Carbonaro Effect,
Yeah.
have you guys ever seen Adam Ruins Everything?
Yeah.
We watch that all the time, and I just realized it's on Netflix. Love that show.
He was just on. Well, I don't know if he was just on, but I caught it in my YouTube feed. He was what's his name podcast?
Rogan's podcast.
Yeah, Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
I like the bits and pieces. I noticed we're now another tangent. I noticed he's got another YouTube channel where it's just like smaller clips from the podcast, like 10 to 12 minutes long, rather than like the 3-hour episodes. And that's how I ran into to Adam Richman's one anyway. Yeah. I did see, and I struggle to recommend this right now because you're gonna have to pay for it, but it's on my list and is amazing. If you're into music documentaries, Searching for Sugar Man.
I've heard of that. Oh yeah, I remember about this one.
Drop. If you haven't seen it, drop that on the company card to rent. I will pay for that. It is such a good movie, and it was on Netflix just recently, January-ish, but it looks like they've pulled it, and it's also not on Amazon Prime. You can only rent it, unfortunately. But oh my gosh, such a great film.
Does that offer of paying for it go to all of the listeners as well?
No,
Just checking.
although you know what? Let's see if anybody's listening. I will. So the first 3 people that are listening to this that want to watch Searching for Sugar Man, I'll pay for their rental if they reach out to me. Yeah, that one is really good. And I'm not much of a music documentary fan, but man, that one was good. There's also another one, and I can't find the name of it, but it was on Netflix. I stumbled across it. It was about the history of studio musicians. So the musicians that play on a lot of the albums that we remember, but never get any of the publicity. They don't go on tour. They're just the ones they call in to actually make the studio recordings of the albums. I'm gonna have to see if I can find it.
God, now all I want to do is watch
I
a lot of
know.
Netflix.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff. I haven't
think it's
opened
called-
another window.
I think it's called Hired Gun. That's what it's called.
Hmm.
It's a documentary about studio musicians. I think that's the one. It was good. It was good. Is that one?
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's the one. There's another one, I think, called The Wrecking Crew that's also about... Anyway, there's some good ones there. But yeah, Searching for Sugar Man. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend that one. It is a really good one. Going through my list to make sure I don't leave anything out that is a must watch. There's some on here that I can't find anymore that I wish were still around. Ride the Divide's a good one. Yeah, I can't find it. Apparently there's this underground mountain bike race from Canada to Mexico. And Ride the Divide's a documentary of one of these. Oh, the Barclay marathons.
Yeah, it was funny when you said that. I just thought of that as well. I was just about to say that.
Did you watch it?
I've watched that. Yeah, that's great.
I've
That's a great
watched
one.
it 3 or 4 times. It's so good. Jim, have you seen Barclay marathons? Okay, I can't hear you.
No, I
Okay.
haven't seen it.
You absolutely must go watch it. I think.
Okay.
I hope it's still on either Netflix or Amazon. It is so good, so good.
Yeah, it's on Netflix still.
Okay, no, definitely need to check that one out. A really short one on Netflix, I think only 40 minutes long. Long Shot. It's a good one. It's about a guy that gets arrested for a crime. I think I want to say a murder. And he ends up getting captured on camera, being at an event at the time the murder happens, and he ends up getting off. It's an interesting quick one.
Oh, real quick, I just found that one documentary I was just talking about. It's called In Defense of Food.
I think I
Yes.
heard of that as well.
Yeah, no, it's really good. And again, I like how he's not there trying to sell you on one thing or another. He's trying his best to be objective. Where right now, like that category of documentaries are anything but objective.
Is that the Michael Pollan one?
Yes, that's him. And then he has
Yeah.
another series on. Oh, Jason, you may like this one because it came up when I was looking for him. He has another one that I've started watching some of it. It's called Cooked, which is still on Netflix.
Okay.
So it shows how various cultures, prepare meals. So I think you might enjoy that one.
Yeah, I will check that out. For those that listen to our podcast, because we normally talk about business stuff and analytics, there's a couple good ones that I have on my list. Print the Legend. If you're kind of into startup type things, it's kind of at the height of 3D printing, and it follows this startup company that's building 3D printers. It's really really interesting. And AlphaGo um, is about is it? I can't remember who made the machine, but it's similar to what was IBM's Watts Deep Blue, or the one that beat the machine they built to beat the Kasparov or some of the chess legends that played chess. Anyway, they built an AI powered machine that plays the game Go, and AlphaGo is all about that. It's really really fascinating.
Oh, see, now I'm remembering all kinds of other ones too. Another one that just I was just reminded of when you were talking was called Abstract. It's like a 4 or 5 episode documentary series about uh, designers in very different industries. Like one of them focuses on, I mean, there's about car design, interior design,
Mm,
all kinds of things. But the really cool one, there's one episode about um, Nike, just about the design of the Air Force Ones, and I don't know, it's very cool, very well made. But it's just interesting that how it goes into the process and the story of completely different types of design. For me, it's super cool.
Abstract. It's on Netflix, right? I think I've
Yeah,
seen
it's
that
on Netflix.
in my feed.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll have to check that out.
they're
Um,
relatively short too. But yeah, the Nike ones focuses on Tinker Hatfield. If you're into the shoe game, he's a big deal. But
yeah, very cool. Yeah, I think we touched on like the ones that I'm like, you have to watch these.
I've got a full list now.
I have two more, and one is my challenge that I want to offer. Um, have you guys seen Icarus?
No, I haven't.
no,
Okay,
I've seen the ad.
you should watch it. I've watched it a couple times. It's really good. It's about doping,
Huh.
specifically in cycling.
Yeah, now you mention it, I think I've heard of it. I just haven't watched it
You
yet.
should. It's
Okay.
really entertaining. Yeah. It's yeah, it's a really good one.
Huh.
One more. Speaking of AlphaGo, if you're into like those kind of strategy-ish games like Go or chess, there's one called Magnus, which is the documentary of Magnus Carlsen, who was I think the youngest grandmaster, chess grandmaster, which was a really really fascinating watch if you're into that. Again, like I don't play Go, I don't play chess. I have a ton of mountaineering, which I haven't mentioned any of them because I've probably mentioned them a lot in previous podcasts. But I have a ton of mountaineering documentaries that are in my list. Valley Uprising, the Dawn Wall, Meru, 180 Degrees South, Touching the Void. Man, there's so many good mountaineering ones out there. So, that's kind of my list. You probably have a full list now. I have a challenge. One of the film that I think got me into documentary film was made by John O'Hagan. It's called Wonderland. And I can't remember when I first saw this movie, but I don't know. It had to be a long time ago. But it was the film that got me into documentary film. It is a lower budget documentary film about Levittown in New York, which was this designed community to be the perfect white picket fence type of community. And it just, I found the film fascinating. I can't find it anywhere. The website for it is called wonderlanddocumentary.com. You can kind of read up about it a little bit. I've looked for bootleg copies on YouTube. On his website, it says it's coming soon to Amazon or iTunes, but I don't know when this was last updated. I can't find it. If someone could find it, that would be amazing. Or maybe even like track down John O'Hagan and say, where can we buy a copy of this film? Coming
I
soon
just
to
pulled up
Amazon.
Amazon, and yeah, they just have a listing there for the VHS version, and even that, like, none are available.
Yeah, I have looked for years to find it. I'm like, someone has to have a bootleg copy of this on YouTube or something, and it just doesn't exist. Can't
Do you
find
know
it.
the website Can I Stream It?
Yeah. And in fact, I found a whole thread on Reddit about people trying to find it. And if people on Reddit can't find it, like, I
Well,
just don't even know.
then you might as well give up.
No, I can't. I have to find it. So, yeah, that's my list. I mean, I could keep going on and on and on, but you guys have a full list, and I have a bunch of ones that I haven't seen. So many good ones.
And now is when you announce a new company policy to take a week off to watch Netflix.
Yeah.
Our summer binge week off. No, this was a lot of fun. It's always good to kind of just catch up on these various things. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm trying to find some new stuff to watch. So I've got a full list of items now that I need to put my queue and actually watch them.
Yeah, me too. Now I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch some of these. I'm feeling kind of nostalgic. I got to go watch the one with the series on the '80s toys though.
Oh yeah, definitely go watch that. That's a lot of fun.
Cool. All right.
All right, cool. I think that's everything for now. So if anybody doesn't have anything else, we'll go ahead and wrap up. And and again, I'd actually be interested to hear what some recommendations from our listeners. If they've anything that we didn't touch on here, if they've got some other recommendations, definitely send them our way.
Yeah, for sure. I'm always open to, especially documentary. Shoot me recommendations. I'll watch.
Cool. Well, until next time, we'll go ahead and wrap up, and I'll catch you guys later.
See you guys.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. We hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to reach us, you could do so by emailing podcast@33sticks.com or on the web at www.33sticks.com. The 33 Tangents podcast is a production of 33 Sticks.